And it looks like we are live. Guys, give me a minute here, please. As you know, I have to get the Facebook groups in here, get our wonderful Mile High Huddle community joined in together to talk some Denver Broncos football on a wonderful Friday evening. Mile High hello to everybody in Broncos country. Welcome into another episode of the Dove Valley Deep Divers podcast. I am your host, Lance Sanderson, and joining me, as per usual, is my good friend and colleague. He is Mile High Huddle senior NFL draft analyst, and welcome back to the show, Erick Trickel. Dude, how you been, man? I swear, it's been a month since you and I got to sit down on a show together, at least.
Well, what? It's been 3 Fridays now that
Something
we haven't
like that, yeah.
roughly, yeah. Yeah, I'm doing good. I mean, I haven't really talked about it on chat, but I've been, staying in a calorie deficit, been working out more often, trying to improve my physical body. Mentally, I'm down almost 30 pounds.
Yeah, good.
Since I started doing this. So I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I did a lot on the exercise bike, some strength training today. So I'm very exhausted from that. Didn't get enough sleep and very hungry. Calorie deficits really stink, especially when you go from eating how much I was eating to how much I'm eating now. But it's working, and I've tried it before, but I don't know. It's easy to say this one's different, but it feels different, and like I'm more motivated. And previous times I've never done the workout stuff. It's always been exercising, so it's it's been tough, and I'm tired and exhausted. But I'm excited to be talking about Broncos football, as I always am, even though we are in the dead period of off season with topics. And today was a fun one to try to figure out what to word. A couple messages back of we have no idea what we're going to talk about tonight. Well, we found a topic and we're excited to come to it. But as you said, it's good to see you. It's been a while. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Getting ready to start a new job. So those of you who know what I do, I used to drive, still currently, but drive semi for Coca-Cola. You could call me your friendly neighborhood Coke dealer. It's like the running joke that I have. Haha, everybody. Taking a new job here soon. The substantial pay raise, a lot more hours. So updates are coming soon, but I start my new job on July 15th. And it's going to be good. More control, more power. Obviously, substantial pay raise comes with it. It's going to be a good move for me, and I'm very excited for that. But it's also very stressful. Just being at the same job for 5 years in a row and doing everything that I do here. I have a lot of freedom to be able to do everything at Mile High Huddle. It might change a little bit coming up here soon, but not going to focus on that right now. We had a great show. It's going to be fun. Like Erick said, finding topics right now, the month of July, after you get through OTAs, mini camp, the mandatory workouts, all that stuff, you really got to get creative. And one thing, and I think I'm going to talk to Dylan about this. Maybe we'll do this tomorrow night. 5 breakout players, guys you need to see step up. Erick and I, we do this stuff all the time. But something we haven't necessarily talked about is one final move that this team needs to make on offense and on defense to help take this team to the next level. Obviously, there's not necessarily a lack of talent. I think there's a lot of good talent on this roster, but the sum of the parts doesn't make a quality whole. And I think that there's still some issues with this roster. It's going to be a lot of fun, dude. I'm excited to join in you with it. Let's say hello to everybody in the chat. We've got Michael Ronquillo jumping in here early, as he's wont to do over on Facebook. Good evening, Lance and Erick on Dove Valley Deep Divers. Go Broncos. Go Michael. Thank you for joining us. He also jumps in with a good comment here, by the way, guys, saying great breakdown of wide receiver Troy Franklin, Lance. I did a film breakdown on Wednesday is when that published. Wednesday or Thursday is when that published. Go check that out at milehighhuddle.com. Quick, easy film breakdown, what Troy Franklin brings to this offense, what he brings to the roster, the wide receiver room in total. So please do go check that out. We also have Phil McLaughlin jumping in here saying, good evening, Lance, Erick, and Deacon Scott. Congratulations on your new job, Lance. Best wishes for a successful career. Hashtag Buckham. Hashtag MHH for life, Broncos for life. Thank you all, guys, for the kind words. I'm excited. I'm very excited. I hope that everything's going to stay the status quo here with Mile High Huddle. Not sure on all that thing. I'm not trying to give too much information here, but no, very excited about everything there. It's going to be better for my family, better for me individually, better for me in my career, a lot of opportunities for advancement. So thank you all for the well wishes. Say hello to Todd Ostendorf, Greg Smith, a lot of the usual suspects here on a wonderful Friday evening. Daniel Berry, Shiloh Heesh is a new name in here saying, looking forward to a solid episode. Enjoy, fellas, and Broncos country. Thank you for joining us, Shiloh. We definitely appreciate that. No fear in the house. everybody DVA behind the scenes, running the chat moderation. We got Scott tonight running the 1s and 2s behind the scenes as well. Thank you, Scott, for joining us. Thank you all for joining us here on a great Friday evening. Now, Eric, I'm going to let you kick this conversation off just a little bit here, because we did our roster breakdown. We did our 53-man roster projection. Everybody pretty much knows that how we feel of this roster right now. If you haven't seen those episodes, please go check them out. Search Dove Valley Deep Divers on the Mile High Huddle YouTube page. You will find all of that content. However, something we didn't talk about is where this team still needs to improve going into the season. Let's start on the offensive side of the football for you, Eric. What is the biggest move the Broncos need to make as of right now to improve this roster moving forward?
So this one's going to be a little bit controversial. It's not signing anybody. It's not trading anybody or trading for anybody. It's stop with the charade of a quarterback battle.
Yes.
If Jarrett Stidham is the starting quarterback, even if it's for 1 or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or however long, not ideal. Announce Bo Nix the starter. Give him all the first string reps during training camp, during preseason. Let him get that work in and chemistry down. Quarterback battles in preseason and training camps, not ideal because you're taking away snaps from them. It's harder to build chemistry with the receivers, with the weapons, with the blocking even. And come on now. I mean, we just got done talking about for months about how Bo Nix is one of the smarter quarterbacks in this class. He has so much collegiate experience, all this stuff like that he's going to be able to pick up the offense easily. Well, let him go out there, let him run it.
Yep.
This is your guy, Sean Payton. Announce he's a starter and move on from there. Stop with this whole thing of there's this quarterback battle, because Jarrett Stidham has proven that he's not a starting quarterback in the NFL. Let's just get past that. Go with the guy that you drafted to be this franchise quarterback.
I agree with you 100% on that. And quite honestly, so I was on KOA, Broncos Country Tonight, with Benjamin Albright a couple of days ago. And one of the questions he asked was like, what is the biggest storyline for this upcoming season? Obviously, the quarterback position. It doesn't matter. To me, I think Bo Nix needs to be named the starter right away. Get him 50 or 60% of the reps in training camp. Let him go and prove that he can run this offense. And if he's like, the only way that he should not be this day one starting quarterback as of right now, even through training camp, one, injury, something drastic happens. And I'm going to knock on wood here to say, I'm not wishing for this to happen by any stretch of the imagination. I want Bo Nix to be the starter. It's either through injury or the fact that he's clearly not the guy. He's clearly not getting it. He's clearly not understanding it. He's not distributing the football. He's clearly showing he doesn't have the goods. And that's going to take a lot, because quite honestly, like you said, Jarrett Stidham, we know he's not the guy. Zach Wilson has all the tools to be the guy. He's got to put it all together. And sure, I could understand if maybe you want to move on from Jarrett Stidham, keep him on the practice squad coming out of training camp. You know, Zach Wilson wins the job as the starter right away just to kind of keep Bo Nix out of the conversation. To me, though, it doesn't matter. Bo Nix needs to be the guy until he is either hurt or shows to you 100% he is not ready. And even then, I still think you need to throw him to the wolves, man.
Yeah, I don't think only way he shouldn't be starting is with injury. Yep. Even if he goes out there and he struggles in camp and preseason, you still have to be the starter. This is the guy that Sean Payton drafted to be the franchise quarterback. He's 24 years old. He is one of the oldest quarterbacks drafted since 2010. Yep. It's like the third oldest or something like that. Quarterback drafted since 2010. You got to figure out what you have in him before, he gets past that point. There is an age that a lot of teams look at 25. You better know what you have in your quarterback at 25.
Yep.
I'm not fully on that. I think it also matters with how much experience you have in the NFL, how long you've been in college, things like that. It's not as black and white to me, but you got to get him out there. You got to figure out what he has. You got to know if this is the guy, because you can't sit there and compound that mistake if he doesn't work out of drafting Bo Nix at 12 overall by waiting too long on him, similar to what happened with Paxton Lynch, because they kept hanging on to him because we didn't see enough out of him. Well, make it clear, either see enough early on or don't. Like you can't do that. You can't have it where you don't. You need to know. It's a similar situation that a couple other teams are having because they weren't getting, ideal things. Carolina Panthers, they were smart to just go with Bryce Young, and from the start, he didn't look great. Well, now we're going to see what he is in year 2, and if he's not there in year 2, they're probably looking for another quarterback, even after what they gave on or what they gave up to go get him. You can't sit there and bide your time too long with the quarterback position. You just can't, especially for somebody like Jarrett Stidham. Now, if you had a different quarterback that has proven that they can be a starter in the NFL, I would be a little bit different on this.
Yeah.
I'd be like, okay, maybe you can bide your time a little bit, but you still want them to get starts in their rookie season. They don't have that quarterback. Jarrett Stidham's not that quarterback. Zach Wilson is definitely not that quarterback.
Yep.
Zach Wilson right now, with granted OTAs and minicamps, taken with the grain of salt, it's basic install and all that stuff like that. Zach Wilson was absolutely terrible.
Yeah, from the sound of it, yep.
The conversation has been about how good Jarrett Stidham looked. If Jarrett Stidham wasn't looking the best at that point in end of May, early June, then my God, is he definitely not it. He should be the best quarterback during there. He's been with the team for over a year, where the other two have been with the team for a little over a month at that point.
Yep.
Like, it needs to be Bo Nix. As Michael Bonquillo said, this is Bo Nix's team, not Jarrett Stidham's or Zach Wilson's. This is Bo Nix's team. It is time to announce him as a starter and run with him as it is being his team.
Yeah. I guess the one question I'm going to ask you on this one, and I agree with you, but I want you to kind of expand on this particular point here. You've got Bo Nix at 24 years old going on 25. You kind of typically want to see what you have at 25. And obviously extenuating circumstances here, specifically with Bo Nix. You know, he's started, 6 years in college, 61 total starts over his collegiate career, 24 years old. You've got a guy in Zach Wilson who came out super early. I believe he's 21 years old when he was drafted. He's 24 years old, same age. I think Bo Nix is actually like 2 months older than Zach Wilson. Fact check me if you want to. I don't give a damn. Do you actually know what Zach Wilson is right now based on the situation, what he was given in New York? And yes, I know we've seen a little bit of OTAs and stuff like that. Do you know exactly what you have in Zach Wilson right now? And is there a potential possibility to throw him out there at first? Because say Bo Nix isn't quite grasping onto things, I want him named starter. I'm just bringing up the hypothetical here. Do you throw Zach Wilson out for, say, the first 3 or 4 weeks to kind of get everybody's feet wet, or is it just a done deal at this point?
For me, it's a done deal. And Zach Wilson is a little bit older than Bo Nix. Okay. August 99 to February 2000.
Yeah, Scott's saying Zach is about 6 months older. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I just got done writing an article about this whole thing, about this quarterback battle, and the three of them and the ages of it mattered. Like, Zach Wilson is the most experienced quarterback on the roster.
Yeah, 33 starts.
In terms of starts and, passing attempts, Jarrett Stidham is the most experienced in terms of years in the NFL. And both of those guys have shown they're not it. People always talk about how you can see a sudden change around of a player. You can. It's possible. Mm-hmm. Not very likely. The likelihood of us seeing Zach Wilson turn around and being a capable starter in the NFL is extremely low, especially after the amount of starts he has, the amount of experience he has playing the game. He hasn't missed a lot of time because of injury. He's been playing. Mm-hmm. Like, we've seen it consistently.
Yeah.
So, no, I don't think that there's anything to him. At this point, he's fighting for a roster spot, and I don't think he deserves it. I don't, even with the financial situation between him and Jarrett Stidham, like, Zach Wilson has not done enough to be on the roster, let alone be a starter. Yeah. I don't care about the potential he has, because at some point potential has to go out the window. We can't be talking about a guy 3 years in the NFL and, they still have potential. Like, at that point, the odds of them showing it are less than 1% of them suddenly turning around and reaching that potential. Yeah. It happens, just so rare. So, no, I don't think that you can look at Zach Wilson. I think we've seen enough out of him. We've seen enough out of Jarrett Stidham. And guess what? Again, neither one of them were brought in to be the franchise guy like Bo Nix.
Yeah, and as Scott just put in our private chat here, saying potential is the one word that will kill your coaching career. Like, coaches die based on, he's got potential. He's got potential. I'm going to take a gamble on him. Yeah, you will end your coaching career faster banking on potential than you will actually getting that potential to show itself on the field on a consistent basis. This is a great point, Scott. We got GLP Gary Palmer jumping in here. $10 super chat saying, hi, Lance, Eric, and Scott. I think it's Bo's jobs to lose. I'm right there with you. Who will be running back one? Go Broncos. This one is a more detailed conversation. And before I get into this, just quickly, guys, if you guys got any questions, please make them creative too. We fill up some time, help us out here on a great Friday evening. Let's talk some Denver Broncos football. Creative questions. What game would you ever want to go to? Any player that is not a Ring of Fame or Hall of Famer that would bring on this roster? Just get creative. Get us some good questions. We'll have some fun with you guys as well, and just kind of shoot the bull, if you know what I mean. But to Gary's specific question, running back one, I'm going to start us off on this one because this room is one of the biggest storylines that I have coming into this season. Yeah, obviously, Bo Nix, the quarterback conversation, whatever that's going to be, is what it is. This running back room, to me, there's a lot of talent here. There's a lot of potential here. But again, that potential word will get you killed as a coach, get you killed as an analyst as well, by all means. You've got Javonte Williams, who is very talented. Slowed down last year a lot coming off that torn ACL in his sophomore season, going into last year of his rookie contract. Samaje Perine, probably the most trustworthy third down running back on this roster right now in terms of pass catching ability and the ability in pass protection. Then you've got Audric Estime, the rookie. He's going to be on this roster. Jaleel McLaughlin probably going to be on this roster unless Blake Watson takes that spot. This running back room is going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. And to me, I think running back one this year is going to be Audric Estime. I do think the rookie is going to win this job in camp because Javonte Williams is going to be on the way out. I do think that Javonte Williams is probably going to be cut this year.
Yeah, running back one is going to be Javonte Williams. Like that's almost a certainty at this point. Even though he's been linked with possibly being on the way out, the latest rumblings have kind of flipped the script on that, saying that he's pretty much safe. Sure, it could be a situation of, oh, we want more, or come offer us more because we're not going to get rid of him. Samaje Perine's the one out
Okay.
at this point. Finances, I mean, I have an article up on Samaje Perine.
Mm-hmm.
If you keep Williams, Estime, McLaughlin, and Watson, your cost is about half of what your cost would be with Williams, Perine, Estime, and McLaughlin because of how much Perine is.
Right.
He costs almost as much as the other four combined. And the Broncos are not in a cap position. They're only about $7 million in salary cap space, and you want a little bit more than that because of any free agent signings that you have to make, any potential trades that you have to make, being able to eat some extra money on contracts of a player you trade away, all that kind of stuff. Samaje Perine, he's on the way out. But running back one, that's Williams. Running back two, that's where there's a battle. Will they go to Jaleel McLaughlin to be kind of that, that change of pace back?
Mm-hmm.
Will it be Audric Estime and then kind of, almost a 50-50 split between Estime and McLaughlin for that? And after that, I think Watson at this point is making the roster. We'll see. There's a lot that's still up in the air with him. But I don't think we'll see running back for a whole lot on the offense. So that's how it is to me at this point.
The financial aspect was something that I didn't necessarily take into consideration here with Samaje Perine. He counts 4.5 against the salary cap this year, and the Broncos are currently $7.65 million under the salary cap. So they got a little bit of room. But cutting Samaje Perine, this is per overthecap.com. I'm literally reading it right now. They'll save $3 million in cap space with $1.5 million dead. So puts them over $10 million in salary cap space. They can go out and make an extra move, which is going to parlay into my particular part of this conversation here in what the Broncos need to do offensively to help this team go forward. And again, going back to our roster projection, going back to ranking the position groups of the team as a whole, Eric and I both are pretty much in agreement here. Tight end is the worst position group on this roster. Plain and simple, cut and dry. It's really hard to argue against that fact. You've got Greg Dulcich, who can't stay healthy. You've got Lucas Kroll, who everyone wants to anoint as the next coming of Julius Thomas, essentially. Adam Troutman, who is just a guy. Nate Adkins, who has some promise for sure, but he's still got a long ways to go. Thomas Yasmin, the undrafted rookie free agent out of Utah. Probably a practice squad guy if he even gets that far into consideration through camp. You've got to go. Go ahead.
Thomas Yasmin, he'll be a practice squad candidate at least because he has the international player exemption.
Oh, that's right. Yep, you're right. The rugby player. Yes, you're absolutely correct on that. So thank you for the correction on that. Regardless, you've got to go and find another tight end to add to this room, preferably a veteran with receiving upside. Adam Troutman, again, just a guy. You can line him up in line. He can function as a blocker. He can give you just some quick hitter routes as a safety blanket over the middle of the field if you need him to, but he's not a game-changing threat. Greg Dulcich is your game-changing threat, but he can't stay healthy. Lucas Kroll, we don't know what that guy looks like. You've got to find a guy that's out there as a veteran that can come in and bring some valuable receiving snaps on this roster and help Bo Nix develop as a quarterback. The problem is there ain't no one out there. Like the only guy that's the only guy that is currently available that would be a quality unrestricted free agent is 38-year-old Jimmy Graham, who's familiar with Sean Payton. We all know the history that he has with the New Orleans Saints. But as Jimmy Graham, you got like a guy like Tyler Kroft, who can't stay healthy, formerly with the, I believe he was a Cincinnati Bengal and it was formerly with the Dolphins. Trevon Wesco, mostly a blocker. Anthony Firkser, depth tight end at 29 years old. There's not a whole lot out there in terms of the tight ends that are capable of coming in and bringing a valuable receiving option. Do you think that Jimmy Graham is that guy right now at 38? I don't know, man. You got to do something though. This tight end position is horrible for this Broncos roster right now.
Yeah, I'd be calling around and seeing what could be ahead for a trade. Like that's about your only option to get somebody there at the tight end position.
How about this one? Noah Fant?
No.
Sorry, Rodney.
First of all, they seem pretty high on him there in Seattle. And second of all, no. So yeah, I mean, that's about the only option you have unless you want to go with somebody who's super old like Jimmy Graham or blocker onlys like basically like Jeff Swaim or the other guy that you mentioned.
Trevon Wesco?
Trevon Wesco, yes. Or another injured guy like Tyler Kroft, because we don't have enough of those on the roster, even at the tight end position. We don't have enough, I guess. And that's not at all a shot at you. It's just, injury-prone tight ends, injury-prone players. That's a George Payton must.
The only other intriguing one is like Blake Bell. Blake Bell, former Kansas City
Blake Bell would be a little bit intriguing, yeah.
Yeah.
But even then, it's like, all right, we've got yourselves yet another tight end 2 or 3.
Yep.
Like, woo. They don't have a single guy. Like their best bet is to bet on somebody stepping up because there's no veterans option available. Mm-hmm. If I had to go somewhere, I would make a call to Jimmy Graham just to get somebody somewhat reliable receiving tight end in there, because Greg Dulcich, we can't rely on him to stay healthy, and we have no idea what Lucas Kroll's going to do.
Yeah.
Like you can throw around the whole potential word with him, but he has not done anything in the NFL at this point to deserve as much faith as being this guy can be our receiving tight end threat. Yeah. Bring in somebody to provide a little bit of insurance just in case, he falls flat on his face.
Yeah. And Jimmy Graham, obviously we all know and remember him, the big red zone target, super huge receiver for the Saints, for the Seahawks there as well for a little while, the relationship with Sean Payton, but again, 38 years old. If nothing else, you bring him in as a camp body, let him kind of help these young guys out. Like I'm all about that life. And if he does stick around, sure. I mean, throw him out there in red zone situations and see if he can't still use that basketball background as a block out defender and a player that can go and win those contested catch situations. Because at 38 years old, what are you bringing athletically to the fold anymore at that particular point at the NFL level? Like you can get away with that at basketball, maybe even soccer, baseball as well. The NFL, this is young man's game. And Jimmy Graham at 38, that's a big time question mark. Let's run to the chat really fast. We've got Michael jumping in here. Michael Ronquillo saying, which cornerback needs to be the number 2 behind cornerback Pat Surtain II? Eric, what do you think, man? How does that cornerback 2?
Riley Moss.
Interesting. That's an interesting answer. And the reason why I say that is because obviously last year with the hernia, the surgery, missing all of training camp, not really sure what the positional versatility is behind there as well. Like, is he going to play inside, outside, drop back to safety? This to me is an interesting answer, and I'm curious your thoughts behind this.
During OTAs and minicamp, he was limited as a boundary corner only.
Really? Okay.
He did extremely well there. A lot of people praised him for it. And the thing is, you have Levi Wallace on a 1-year deal.
Mm-hmm.
He's traded up. You used two third-round picks to land Riley Moss. One for the trade up to get him, and one for the actual pick used. You got to know what you have in him.
Like, I don't disagree.
You have Levi Wallace as an option. If he struggles early, you can flip in Levi Wallace. But you got to figure out what you have in Riley Moss. It can't be another situation where you're betting on Damari Mathis taking a step up, even though we got to see a little bit out of him to end his rookie year. it was a fine end to the season, but not great. It can't be another thing of, oh, we're not sure what we're going to have. We're going to just stick with another 1-year veteran. No, at that point, you're just wasting the other talent on the defense. You're wasting the talent of Patrick Surtain, which you've already wasted the cost-controlled years that you have. Figure out what you have in Riley Moss, because it is what's best for the Broncos secondary.
Opportunity cost and just the overall cost of acquiring him, I definitely agree with you. My one follow-up question to that would be, what do you think about Chris Abrams' strain right now? Is he more developmental guy, or do you think that he could really kind of be in the mix for that cornerback too? Because I like him as a prospect. I really did like him.
Right now, he's probably just cornerback 4 or 5.
4? Okay.
Or 5. It depends.
So let's see. You got Surtain, Moss, McMillan, Levi Wallace. Yeah. So then, yeah, Chris Abrams. So I guess that makes sense. To me, I don't know, dude. I think with the issues in the secondary in terms of the safety depth right now, I think that the versatility of Moss, and I know what you just said in terms of limiting him to boundary cornerback in OTAs and stuff like that. I think that there's some more positional versatility with him, and his best role in the NFL might be at safety. So maybe getting him to help bolster that and moving Chris Abrams' strain up that rung just a little bit. I don't know. It's hypothetical, and we got to see what it looks like in camp for sure. But
when he was coming out, there are a lot of questions if he was a corner or a safety. But
yeah, absolutely.
For now, the Broncos seem to have settled that he's a corner, and they've maintained that he's a corner since he was drafted.
Yeah.
One of the first things Sean Payton said is we see him as a corner.
Mm-hmm.
If they were going to move him to safety, then he wouldn't have been kept as a boundary corner primarily throughout the OTAs and minicamp, because that's when you want to start making that transition, getting him even more experience there. And in the end, while we may have opinions, that's what they think, and they've shown us what they think. Levi Wallace, with the way his contract is structured, he's not guaranteed to even make the roster. So if Chris Abrams' strain does show out well, then there's your cornerback 4, and move on from Levi Wallace.
Yeah.
Like, it'll be tough trusting a second-year player and a rookie as your second boundary corner, but you know what? If Riley Moss struggles, and at least you get a chance to figure out what you have in Chris Abrams' strain.
Yeah.
And if not, maybe you can bring Levi Wallace back on your practice squad and bring him in. Whatever the case may be, you just got to figure out what you have in the second-year player you traded up to get using a future third-round pick.
Well, you also have Damari Mathis, and I know that we've kind of crapped all over. I don't disagree with you. I think that that's probably the one guy that's going to be really on the way out here. That's like the shocking surprise. But third-year player, formerly like a third-year player as a 4th-round pick that played really well as a rookie, took a step back last year. Let's see what happens, if nothing else, with him. Let's move this conversation forward here. We got Phil McLaughlin jumping back in here with some more stars on Facebook. Thank you, Phil. We definitely appreciate you, buddy. You guys think we sign Bulls to a new contract, or do we finally draft a tackle next year? This is one thing Eric and I have been pretty well in lockstep on this entire offseason. Garrett Bulls needs to be extended, at least in my opinion. And Eric, I believe that you're on the same wavelength on me. Extend him 2 years. You need a 2-year extension with him. Put a third void year on the back end of that deal. $17-18 million. You're talking about a top 10 left tackle at the minimum. At the very minimum, a top 10 left tackle in the NFL. You cannot afford to move on from that guy, especially when you have a young rookie starting quarterback. He's going to be around at least this year. It's last year of his deal. You need to extend a guy like Garrett Bulls and keep him around as Denver Bronco for life for at least the next 2 years, and then potentially draft a replacement next year if you want to. Draft a replacement the year after if you want to. Draft 2 of them. I don't give a damn. Garrett Bulls needs to be a Bronco for at least the next 2 years. At least the next 2 years.
It's hard to say. Don't get me wrong. I think they should extend him and everything, but it's hard to say draft a tackle, because if you want to draft the tackle to contribute early, you need to draft them early in the draft.
Yep.
Obviously, we don't know where the Broncos are picking. We don't even know how the draft class will look out next year. Tackle is projected out to be pretty solid. I know there's a couple LSU guys there at the top. There's a couple other players there viewed at the top. So it could end up being a really strong tackle class. But I believe a couple of those guys are redshirt sophomores or juniors. And obviously that leaves the option of them returning to school. Either way, the safest option for the Broncos is to give Bulls, say, here's 2 years, $32 to $34 million, X amount guaranteed. X amount as a signing bonus. Like, we want you
Mhm.
here, and then draft the tackle and actually start developing a tackle behind him, letting him be, the guy up there. Is he the best tackle in the world? No, he's not. I wouldn't say he's top 10 personally, but he's right there on the cusp for me. So yeah, with the way the tackle market's going, $16-17 million on an average per year basis is fine for what you're getting out of him. You can't get to a situation where you're basically going to be flipping your tackles year after year, because Mike McGlinchey's, if he doesn't step up, is probably gone after next season, not 2024, but 2025 to be clear. Like, you just extend him. It's the safest bet. It's the best bet for the Broncos with where they're at, with what we know currently. And you know what? Try to make it a team friendly deal, so that way, if you do get hit on a tackle early, then you have the option of moving on from him.
Yep.
Or you just bench him, or bench Mike McGlinchey, or whatever the case may be.
Yep. No, I'm right there with you, dude. I do think the Broncos actually do need to draft a tackle, like actually draft a tackle, whether a developmental tackle or a day 2 pick, top 10 pick. I don't give a damn. They need to draft a tackle in the next year for sure. And for sure, the next 2 years. They have not drafted a tackle since Garrett Bulls. It's a fact. They have not drafted a tackle since Garrett Bulls. And that's a problem. There's a reason why this team lacks depth on the offensive line. They need to go out there and find a quality tackle as a developmental guy, potentially as a starter, to move forward. Garrett Bulls right now is easily the best answer that they have, and they need to keep him around for the next couple of years. Let's go to the defensive side of the football here, Eric. I'm going to let you start us off here. Your defensive move that needs to be made to help this roster moving forward into 2024.
And actually, it's just with this question of from Greg Smith, do you all trust our inside linebackers right now? No. Go sign one.
Who's available? Do you got any names?
There's actually quite a few guys available. I actually just had it up, but I went to give me a second. I'll pull it back up. I was switched over to looking at tackles here.
Oh, you're good.
But let's see. Shaquille Leonard's available, although I wouldn't look at him. He's closer to Alex Singleton. Cunningham is available.
Zach Cunningham. I didn't know that he was a free agent. That's available. A good one. Tyler Matakevich wouldn't be bad either.
Let me see here. If you want to take a shot on Jabril Cox, fine, whatever. It shouldn't cost a whole lot. Let me see here.
How about
there's a couple of names.
Quan Alexander.
Again, injuries have always been an issue with him for his career. So
that's right.
Maybe you want to take a shot on him. But no, like Zach Cunningham or Shaquille Leonard, those are the two that stand out. Leighton Vander Esch is retiring, so obviously you wouldn't go there. Let's see here. Going over one last look on it. I believe he retired. Yeah, basically one of those guys. That's kind of where I would be at.
If Quan Alexander could be healthy, that dude's a special football player. Problem is he's 30 years old. Going to be cheap if you want to get him, but fluid athlete, good in coverage, good tackler. Like, he's all over the place. He could never actually stay healthy. Zach Cunningham, probably one of the more underappreciated linebackers at the NFL level. And he would be a good add to what the Broncos currently have right now. Quality coverage player, does a really good job dropping into zones. It can turn and run with anybody that he wants to at the tight end position. Like, he's a good enough athlete as of right now. So Cunningham would be a really intriguing name to me. I think another one, and you're probably going to kill me, Blake Martinez. The dude just
retired.
Did he retire? Look that up.
I mean, obviously, you can always call on him, ask about coming out of retirement. It's happened before.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure I saw that he was retiring.
If so, that's unfortunate, because that's a good football player. Like, he's Josie Jewell-esque, just more responsible than actual good, like a good quality tackler, decent in coverage. Like, would at least help to fill out this room. Like, you've got Alex Singleton, who is a great see-ball, chase-ball tackler. You've got Cody Barton, who's just kind of a dude. Lavelle Bailey as an undrafted rookie free agent. We see what he looks like on a special teams role. Jonas Griffith is fine if he can stay healthy. Like, what else do they have in terms of players on this roster right now? There's just not a whole lot. So adding another linebacker, if you get Zach Cunningham, Blake Martinez maybe to come out of retirement, if that's the case, like, you could do a lot worse than that adding to this room To me, I think that you go a level forward
and
go to the edge room. Go ahead, Eric.
Todd, I saw you ask it earlier, but as basically ask a similar question as well. But it scrolled way past where we can reach it though. But I did see that you asked it, and I do want to answer your question about the funny question about Alaska, because I've got actually a pretty good story about that. But back to Blake Martinez, he announced in November last year, after he was let go from the Steelers practice squad, that he was retiring to focus on family and future passions. Had to Google it because I knew I sold it. Because and here's the thing: is he announced his retirement just after selling off a big time Pokemon card sell that he made.
Oh, that's
and he's
right.
he's now in buying and selling Pokemon cards. All that.
I forgot about that. Him and is it Jamal Williams, the running back from formerly the Lions and the Saints now? He's the other big Pokemon head. Yeah, that's right. I forgot that Blake Martinez, because he hit on a handful of different good Pokemon cards and made, I think, close to like $150,000 or something like that.
Yeah, he's brought in over $11 million buying.
Good Lord. Good Lord.
According to this article. Anyways, back to Quan Alexander. Yeah, he wouldn't be fine if you're looking specifically for a coverage guy. That is all he is at this point. It's it's basically all he has ever been. It was his role with the Steelers last year, and he did well with it. Getting caught in rundown situations and tackling, and that was not great. He was a liability there. So that's not great, and that's always a risk when you find a linebacker that's specifically for one thing. It's always a risk if they're a liability and now they're getting caught on the field. So yeah, adding a linebacker, finding one from somewhere. You got depth that you want to see if you can try to develop in like Lavelle Bailey. Drew Sanders is obviously hurt. And then Justice Chenard was brought back to help compete on special teams. Maybe Lavelle Bailey can take that spot. But it's a thing of you have Alex Singleton, Cody Barton, who has got awful, and Jonas Griffith, who has been hurt and has injury concerns throughout his career, to compete for the other starting job next to Singleton. Bring in somebody to add more competition for that starting job, because right now it is just very underwhelming, extremely concerning, and just something that has to improve. Especially if you want to improve this run defense, you improve the defensive line, you got to improve that second linebacker spot too.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, but I think that the bigger need right now, and this is going to sound crazy because I am really high on this edge room, and I think that there's a lot of talent here. You can't trust anybody right now. Jonathan Cooper is probably the most trustworthy edge defender that you have on this roster in terms of being a decent pass rusher, decent enough edge, run defender in terms of setting the edge. Nick Bonito still has a long ways to go. He needs to take another big step forward. Baron Browning can't stay healthy. You've drafted Jonah Ellis, who is again, Nick Bonito, Baron Browning style player where they're pass rushers first before they're run defenders. To me, adding in a veteran edge defender that is a quality edge setter in the running game is a big need. And there are two veteran guys that I have specifically my eye on. The first one, 29 years old. We're talking Yannick Ngakoue, who has bounced around the NFL. He played for the Raiders for a little bit, was with the Colts most recently. The Bears most recently, spent some time with the Colts, was a Baltimore Raven. This dude is a high-quality run defender at the edge position. Little misfit right now in terms of what his fit is with the Denver Broncos and his defense, but I think that this guy coming in can be a good enough example for these young guys in the room to show them how to set the edge, to show them the ways around becoming quality pass rushers. The other guy here, Marcus Golden. And Marcus Golden is a guy that he's an older guy. He was most recently with the Steelers. I believe he was released after an injury. 33 years old. He spent a lot of time with Vance Joseph in Arizona. And that guy is a damn fine edge defender in terms of defending the run. If you can get a guy like that to me is a huge boost for this edge room right now.
Yannick Ngakoue is complete booty cheeks against the run. That is why he can't stick anywhere. He is terrible. Nick Bonito is significantly better than Yannick Ngakoue. He is so bad against the run. It is so frustrating to watch him try to defend the run. And he is
I
one
thought
of
he
those
was
guys
better
where
than
you talk
that.
about effort against a certain thing. His effort against the run will make you. I'll stop there because
Okay,
I was
well
going to say something that was
then allow me to retract
he's a
my
high
statement. I
quality
thought,
pass rusher. That
okay,
is what he is. He is a high quality pass rush specialist. And you want to bring oomph to your pass rush with somebody reliable. There you go. And guess what? As Dylan comes in and says, George Payton's kind of guy, because George Payton absolutely hates run defense from your edge room. So there you go, Yannick Ngakoue. Marcus Golden is a solid run defender, not great at it, not the quality of pass rusher that Yannick Ngakoue is either. A little bit more rounded. And the issue with the run defense, or the edge room, it's not just the you don't have anybody to rely on. You have two guys that are expected to be free agents, that are set to be free agents after this year, and Baron Browning and Jonathan Cooper. And one of those guys could be gone before the season or even prior to the trade deadline. And if you want to move on one of those guys, then bringing in somebody makes sense. And to give them yet another guy in there, as it is right now, if they're keeping both of those guys, which if they're not going to extend them both, which I don't see how they viably can due to budgeting reasons and Nick Benito and his contract situation, because he's going to be up for a contract after not this season, but next season. With all that in mind, is if they're keeping the room as it is, there isn't a place for another edge room, because then you're just taking snaps away from guys who need these snaps to try to help them and grow, get the scheme down, because the scheme is changing a little bit up front this year again, not a whole lot. But getting things down, they need it. Jonah Ellis, he's going to need it. Nick Benito, he needs it to try to help improve against the run. They all need those snaps. You don't have room to bring somebody else in if you are keeping Cooper and Browning. If you're planning on trading one of them, especially before the season, then bring them in.
I don't know. I guess I'm looking for veteran leadership is the biggest thing. And if I'm wrong on Ngakoue, which apparently I'm definitely wrong on that. I thought he was a better run defender than absolute ass cheeks, but at least bring him in to help these guys learn how to grow as a pass rusher, because he is a damn good pass rusher. Marcus Golden has been around the NFL for a long time. Bring him in as that veteran. What's veteran mentor is really the big thing to me. And I think that this room desperately needs that, because you with Baron Browning can't stay healthy. Jonathan Cooper is just really kind of a guy. Nick Benito, again, another step forward is desperately needed. Ronnie Perkins, kind of just a guy. Name me a guy that you can really depend on as a game changer. Not that Marcus Golden is going to be that guy, but he can help this team desperately, that they need it to have desperately at the edge room right now. So that, I don't know. I guess that's the big end of my take, is to get a veteran in this room to help these guys grow.
So real quick before I get Todd's question, I had to look it up just to. You've admitted your mistake, but just to point out how bad he is as a run defender. Yannick Ngakoue, using Football Focus, out of, let's see here, gotta hit that, 87 edge defenders who have played at least 160 run defense snaps. He is the lowest graded at 37.7 by Pro Football Focus, has the third highest missed tackle rate, and his stop percentage is, let me see here, is the 10th worst. Yeah, that's why he can't keep a job. He's terrible.
I'll admit the mistake. I'll admit the mistake, and let's just move past it at this point.
I don't know if you caught my reaction when you said that he's a high quality.
I saw Scott freaking out. I'm like,
but I was just
Scott talking about. Like, I swear this guy's actually fairly decent against. Apparently, no.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely wrong on that, and I'll admit that. See, here's the cool thing: you throw out a misinformed take, and that's definitely me on this one. Misinformed take. I'll admit it. I'm fine with admitting that I'm wrong. 100%. You guys want to call me out on it? Absolutely. And I'll admit that I was wrong. I sound like a moron. It's okay.
People, that happens and everything. It was just something that was rather funny to me. Just high quality run defender.
I'm Stephen A. Smith. I'm the Stephen A. Smith of bad takes for Mile High Huddle. Let's move it forward though.
Anyways, pulling up that question from Todd here. The dumbest question about Alaska you were asked from you as being how we could get our vehicle to California. It was not long after I turned 21. I was in Colorado, seeing some family there, and we went to Texas Roadhouse, and I was ordering a beer, and I gave them my ID, and the lady asked me if she could also see my Russian passport.
Okay.
And I was like, Alaska is one of the 50 states, right? which is always, every time I get a comment about being from Alaska when my ID is seen, it's always, we're part of the United States, right? And she goes, no, you're part of Canada. She asked for my Russian passport as well, and then said we're part of Canada. Yeah, I was flabbergasted. Like I was so lost. I was more lost than when this guy over here said that Yannick Ngakoue is a good run defender. Like it just
bring it full
I
circle.
couldn't even finish speaking. My brother had to answer her and say, no, Alaska is part of the United States. And if he was from Russia or if he was part of Canada, he wouldn't have a Russian passport. I was so taken aback by it. I almost wanted to talk to the manager about it because there are some things that are just inexcusable, and that's one of them to me. Like,
so I have a legitimate question about Alaska because we just came out of the summer solstice, and
we just had our longest day of the year.
Yeah,
it was pretty much daylight all day.
That I was just about to ask you. So, how much darkness did you guys experience up there in Kenai?
With where I'm at, it was. We got a little bit of darkness, not real dark, but it wasn't very long. It makes it very frustrating, especially when you have a young child who likes to sit there and go off of, it's dark outside, it's bedtime. Oh, it's not dark outside, I don't have to go to bed. It's 10 o'clock. It's bedtime.
So we have the same. It's not quite that bad. 9 o'clock is still plenty light outside. Like, quite honestly, it's plenty light outside. You can definitely tell if I move my curtain. So 9 o'clock is still light enough outside that you could read a book if you wanted to here in Wyoming. And a 3-year-old and a 9-year-old are like, I want to stay up. It's not dark out yet. It's not time for no. It's 9 o'clock, guys. It's time to go to bed. Speaking of time to go and do some other things,
real quick, I want to grab this. Is yes, the Alaskan IDs look a little bit different, especially if you don't have a federally compliant ID. That is an issue that I had for quite a while when I would leave the state. In fact, it was an issue for me when flying back from the meet and greet where we saw the first meet and greet that we did.
Yeah, I remember that.
The second meet and greet is when I lost my ID on the way down. That was
yeah.
First ID was the guy wasn't sure about the ID because it wasn't a federally compliant ID at the time. And so he wasn't sure if I was able to fly. And then we had to sit there and have this big thing about how at the time Alaskans were still exempt from having a federally compliant ID. Although now we have to be compliant by 2025 next year, or by May next year, where it was supposed to be May this year, or May last year, actually.
Right.
So that's one. And then William Catalano talking about 30 Days of Night. I believe that takes place in Barrow, which is much more north than where I'm at. Yep. And one cool fact about Alaska, we're the most western and most eastern state because we have some of the Aleutian Islands that cross the international date line.
Yep. Yeah, Alaska is awesome, dude. I want to go up there so bad. I can't wait to go dip netting with you next year. Like, I'm here for that life. Let's go. Let's see if we can find a quick question here. I think if not, you know what? Let's go to this one. Ron Blevins. This is one I was looking at earlier. With the new cut rules in terms of building your roster, training camp rules, they don't need to cut anybody until after the last preseason game, if I understand it correctly. Wouldn't it be to the Broncos' advantage, including reps, et cetera, stuff like that, to start cutting players earlier?
Not really. I mean, I understand the thought process of getting more reps to guys, but you still want to have that competition. You still want guys pushing people. And also you're using those reps with these other guys to figure out, all right, who is it that we want on the practice squad? Who's going to be on our short list that doesn't even make our practice squad? Or if we have to sign up Levi Wallace makes a practice squad, say some cornerback gets hurt, we're going to sign up Levi Wallace. Well, now we have Art Green, who's a free agent that we didn't keep. Yep. We liked what we saw of him. We're now going to sign him to the practice squad. It's just for a lot of stuff like that. As well, even though there is a limitation on the amount of reps that they can get, coaching staffs do a fairly good job about balancing out and getting everybody a fair enough amount of reps to see what they have in them.
Yeah, I think the big thing here is you got to understand, guys. When roster cuts break down to the final 53-man roster and then 10-man practice squads or 18-man practice squad, whatever the hell it is, You're talking about 1,600 players are left in the NFL right now. Over half of the NFL pretty much is going to get cut and let go from rosters.
Well,
a third at least is going to get released. These players that are in these camps that are around, and oftentimes teams will say, stick around. If you're not going to get an offer from another team, you're not going to get an opportunity. Stick around here. If we had an injury, you're available. You are still here. We can bring you back up, bring you on the practice squad, sign you for a couple of weeks, and just have that safety blanket of what we're doing here. Stick around for a little while. Letting these guys go early is a detriment to not only the roster in general, but to their development as players as a whole. Like you get them out of camp for 2 weeks. Now they're less sharp. They don't understand what's going on. Maybe they get another opportunity. They move on, do something else. You're making a natural disadvantage for your roster down the road. A guy that maybe is the 60th player on or the 70th player on your roster right now. He could still be a boon or a great piece for you to add in November if you keep him around, at least in Denver or Pittsburgh, wherever that may be. Like, cutting these players and getting them out there early is probably a bad idea. Let them develop and continue to grow with you, because they might be a good boost for you later down the year.
Yeah.
We got Michael Ronquillo jumping in here to close out the show. Great show tonight, Lance and Eric on the Dove Valley Deep Divers. Go Broncos. Go Michael. Go everybody who joined us this evening. Try to grab a couple of questions. Not a whole lot going on in the chat tonight, but I do got one question for you. It kind of ties into exactly what we were talking about. One roster move that you could make to help improve this team. I'm going to make it more broad scale. If you could add one former Denver Bronco, not in the Hall of Fame, not in the Ring of Fame, that you could add to this roster right now to make it better, add them in their prime, who would it be and why? I've got two.
I bet you I know one of them.
You're probably going to name one. Go ahead.
Oh, that's a tough one. I'm not entirely sure. Because honestly, I'm gonna be honest, I am blanking on who all is in the Ring of Fame at the moment.
You're good. If you got one that's Ring of Famer, I'll let you know.
I'm pretty sure he is Tom Nalen. I'm pretty sure he's isn't he Hall of Fame too?
No, he's not Hall of Fame. He's a Ring of Famer. Yes.
Oh, darn it. Is there another good center that Denver's had? Get somebody reliable there. First one I'll go with the first one that came. Trevor Price.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a damn good one. I'll go same position. Elvis Dumervil. I would put Elvis Dumervil on this roster in a heartbeat.
Different positions.
Well, yes, and so
edge defensive lineman.
5 technique as compared to a 9. Whatever. Split some hairs here. The other one, Al Wilson.
That's the one I knew. That was Al Wilson.
Al Wilson, and also this is my favorite one, because not a Ring of Famer, not a Hall of Famer, but the third best quarterback that's ever put on a Denver Broncos uniform, Jake Plummer. Give me Jake the Snake and put him on this roster right now, and I'm plumb tickled with the direction of this team. Absolutely.
Jerry Rice. There we go. I'll go with Jerry Rice.
No, Hall of Famer. He's a Hall of Famer. Technically, he's a Hall of Famer.
I was thinking, like a Broncos Hall of Fame. He's not in the Hall of Fame because of the Broncos. But
that's fair. That's fair. If I had to add another one, no. Ooh, man. Who's another? Damn. You know what? Never mind. That's always a fun question to ask. Like, if you could get one former player on your team, make him. Everyone's like, yeah, Champ Bailey, John Elway, Steve Atwater, yada yada yada.
There's another one real quick that I might say.
Photo Appeal has Simon Fletcher and Tom Jackson. Tom Jackson, I know for sure, is in the Ring of Fame. I think Simon Fletcher is in the Ring of Fame too. In fact, I'm fairly certain he's in the Ring of Fame.
Let's see here.
DJ Williams would be a fun one.
Pretty sure that this guy's not in the Ring of Fame. DJ Williams is like a better version of Alex Singleton.
Oh man, way better in coverage, but Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, better in coverage and better as against the run. 88. That's the other one. 88.
DT.
If we can have him back in this run. 88.
Yeah, DT.
I think he would excel in Sean Payton's offense, especially
I do too.
Even with Bo Nix at quarterback. Like.
Yeah, I do too. Slants, bubble screens, quick digs over the middle. Absolutely, yeah. DT, rest in peace, the GOAT, man. That's my favorite. It was the first. I've said it multiple times, the first player I ever scouted, and I'm so glad the Broncos were able to draft him, and he had such a successful career. With that, guys, we're going to get out of here. Thank you all for joining us on a wonderful episode of the Dove Valley Deep Divers podcast. You guys can follow us both by getting on Twitter and following me at Lance_S_MHH, for Erick at Erick Trickel. Also for Scott behind the scenes running the ones and twos at Scout Kennedy. Also, guys, while you're at it, make sure you guys are following at Mile High Huddle. That is the mother account where you guys find breaking news and analysis regarding your Denver Broncos, film breakdowns like my piece on Troy Franklin. That's up there. Anything regarding the Broncos, you're going to find that at Mile High Huddle and also on milehighhuddle.com. Facebook users, come back, get back with us at Mile High Facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. A great way to keep the conversation going. You guys know what to do there. Get yourself some merch at mhhmerch.com. Get yourself a hat, a t-shirt, face mask, coffee cup, anything to suit your fancy. And if you guys are not financially able to do so in terms of super chat stars, getting the merch tent, anything like that, everybody should be doing this by now. Subscribe to everything Mile High Huddle, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Please subscribe to Mile High Huddle. Like every video and article you guys see regarding to Mile High Huddle. And if you love it, please share it, because we couldn't do what we do best, which is cover your Denver Broncos. Your guys' love and appreciation and support is so meaningful to everybody here at Mile High Huddle. With that, Erick, any last words before we get out of here?
Yeah, I mean, and stay safe. Have a great weekend. I gotta go finish getting ready because we're heading up out of town for a little while. Tomorrow's the little one's birthday, turning 7 years old.
Oh goodness,
doesn't seem
gracious,
like 7 years.
Alive.
But yeah, so everyone else stay safe. Have a great weekend. We'll be back next Friday, and yeah, have a good time.
Yeah,
and happy 4th of July as well. Stay safe on the 4th of July.
Yeah,
don't be like Jason Pierre-Paul.
I was just about to say the same damn thing. Yes. Be safe with the fireworks. Don't drink and drive. Please be careful. We want to see you guys same time, same place next week here on the Dove Valley Deep Divers podcast. Friday night, 6 p.m. You all stay safe and take care. Have a great weekend, a great 4th of July. And as always, go Broncos.